Good afternoon. How are you? This is Kate Titsworth in Arlington, Texas. Things are doing okay here, although we did have about 5 inches of rain from the tropical storm. So it's kind of cool if you look at the pictures of the Red River between Texas and Oklahoma. You might want to Google it. Anyway, this is my week 6 video blog. It is about neoevolution. Cool subject. Anyway, here we go. Neoevolution began as a branch of anthropology dealing with social and cultural changes based on society and environment. In the March 2011 TED Talk, Dr. Harvey Feinberg expands neoevolution into the field of biotechnology, stating that neoevolution is, quote, the new evolution that is not simply natural, but guided and chosen by us as individuals in the choices that we will make, unquote. Dr. Feinberg and I both find these ideas intriguing and a little frightening. Can we, in fact, influence our own evolution? Well, of course we can. We've been influencing our own evolution since the beginning of time. For example, well, it's just an example, but in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, based on the Arthur C. Clarke book, director Stanley Kubrick shows the early hominids interacting with the alien monolith. As a result of this interaction, these early humans used technology, in this case a bone, to learn to kill, thus ensuring the continuation of the species. In the Middle Ages, without the use of fire, would the Black Plague have indeed wiped out the entire planet? There are many, many, many ways that we meddle in our own evolution. But to me, this whole new biotech medicine thing shows the most promise and causes the most fear. A lot of it has to do with stem cells. Simply put, stem cells are the building blocks of the human body. These cells are used by the body to create multiple different types of tissue in the human body. There are embryonic stem cells, there are adult stem cells. The conversation about stem cells is an entire thing unto itself, so we're really not going to talk about that other than to know what they are. In the June 6, 2013 edition of Time magazine, author Alexandria Sifferlin spoke of 5 technologies that will, quote, change the future of organ transplants. Not surprisingly, this article discussed the use of stem cells and featured a story on Hannah, the then 2-year-old child who was born without a windpipe. Scientist and physician used her own stem cells to grow her a new windpipe that was then surgically implanted. Because the stem cells were hers, there is only an infinitesimal chance that her body will reject that organ, and so far it has not. One of the other things discussed was 3D printing technology and the possibilities of printing a human organ. The article references Dr. Anthony Atala, a physician at the Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Atala has pioneered a way to use a standard inkjet printer to create a bladder. He substitutes specially designed and engineered tissue for the ink in the cartridge. Obviously, it's not just as simple as emptying out the ink and putting in the tissue. Using stem cells, Dr. Atala creates a liquid tissue that is then layered in a pattern that creates the organ, in this case, the bladder. Right now, both of these technologies are in their infancy, but it is evident that they will have a profound impact on human evolution. For the thousands of individuals that sit waiting on an organ transplant, the idea of being able to 3D print a new kidney or pancreas seems like a dream come true. Once this technology is developed and proven, the ability to print organs will be an inexpensive and life-saving procedure that doesn't require a donor to die or jeopardize the health of a living donor. However, with this, several questions arise. First and foremost, the Earth's resources are finite. If these technologies are used, people will no longer die as soon or at as fast a rate. What happens then? Overcrowding and hunger are already problems in many parts of the world, including the U.S. How do we, on a global scale, feed shelter, provide energy, provide clean drinking water for an unlimited amount of time to an unlimited number of people. But in addition to finite resources, what will happen to the offspring, the children of these recipients of printed organs? If the original cause of the disease or problem was a genetic one, will that still be passed on to the next generation? Or will we now need to go in and genetically modify the germ cells, the actual sperm or ovum, to overcome this weakness or predisposition? Is that a one-off procedure, or would it need to be done each time someone wanted to have a child? Then, hey, if we can fix a genetic problem, what if I want my baby's eyes to be blue? How long before we have designer babies? Biotech is a minefield. On the one hand, the potential for good is unprecedented, curing disease, repairing disability. On the other hand, what are the ethical ramifications? The old saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should, has extra special meaning here. Whether or not you have religious beliefs, is it right to fool with nature? Science fiction has been asking these questions for quite a while. Everything from Wolverine of the X-Men and his forcefully replaced adamantium skeleton to Captain America and the biological enhancement of his body. In the Star Wars movies, George Lucas addresses this issue too. When Anakin Skywalker is almost destroyed by fire, his body is placed into a biotech suit that gives him enhanced capabilities, superhuman strength, and a much extended lifespan. Additionally, in this story, he is no longer the good guy Jedi, but the evil Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, who develops a weapon capable of wiping out entire planets. Arguably, would it have been better if Anakin had been allowed to die? Vader also creates a clone army, an entire group of basically disposable stormtroopers. Is it right for him to create them? Are they sentient? Are they slaves? Do they have free will? Are they living, breathing creatures or biotechnical machines? Star Trek's Commander Data faces a similar situation in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode called The Measure of a Man. As an android, Data is a machine, but is Data the property of Starfleet? In the ruling, the JAG officer says, quote, "This case has dealt with metaphysics, with questions best left to saints and philosophers," unquote. How many 3D organ replacements can one person have before they're no longer considered human? Sadly, I fear technology and the neo-evolution of the human race will progress far faster than the saints and the philosophers can develop answers to this and all of the other metaphysical questions. Now, that ends my assignment, but because I know that this might interest you, I'm going to go ahead and put it in here anyway. It occurred to me as I was writing through this. What would the world look like now in 2015 if thousands of years ago there had existed the technology that cured Sarah of her inability to have a child? There would have been no reason for her to give Hagar to Abram. Consequently, there would have been no Ishmael, and no reason for Sarah to send Hagar away after Isaac is born. Without Ishmael, does Islam develop? Would we be at war today? Would we be the infidel? Interesting stuff. Anyway, thanks. Have a good night.